And welcome back to part 2.
I stopped so I didn't have to have a 20-minute video going any further, because the more recording I do, the harder it is for me to upload. So I think the max I try to do is at least 20 minutes of me rambling. If you guys want longer videos, I would love to do longer videos, but my data plan here is absolute garbage. So usually 5 to 10 minutes works better, but give or take, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to tell this whole story that probably no one's going to be listening to, because I only have currently 2 subscribers versus almost 900 followers on Twitter, and I'm trying to hit 1,000. So if we can get a couple people going, get some discussion going on my YouTube page, I'd be more willing to even do a lot more videos. But doing maybe 1 or 2 videos a week, I'm okay with, until we can build a community. So let's get into the fanfic. So like I said last time, that I was sick and tired of being Commander Shepard and I wanted to be something else. So I always played Commander Shepard his way of choosing left or right. He was always a Alliance officer who gets to be a Spectre, who, dies, joins up with Cerberus, all that bullshit. Didn't want to do it anymore. So, Garrus was a famous character in the Mass Effect universe. Everybody loves Garrus, to the point that people were really hoping to shag him. That was the selling point about Mass Effect, was you could screw around with people and shag people to romance options. Oh god. I chose to do Paul Kepler. I stuck to the whole astronaut. If you don't know, Anderson, Shepard, and there was Grissom, which is in the books, are all named after an astronaut. So I'm like, okay, let's try not to do an astronaut name. So I googled, astronomers or anybody in the science of space back in the old days, and I picked Kepler, which Kepler was the guy that invented the idea of planets orbiting around each other, the idea of orbiting. So I'm like, okay, that sounds like someone I could actually use, and I spelled it the same way he spells it. And I like how on some documents, if I put it the way he spells it, it gets marked wrong. It's weird, because it's spelled Keplar, but if I put AR, it's wrong. If it's ER, it's right. So I'm like, okay, well, changing that type of letter does not matter, because with my last name, A and E doesn't matter. It's the same fucking letter. So I'm like, okay, we'll just roll with it, because I know that rule. So Paul Kepler, started off with him, and he became a C-Sect officer. Which a C-Sect officer was, they worked at the Citadel. They were space cops on the Citadel. So I used, I wouldn't say Officer Bailey. If I do good editing, I'd put him on screen. I'll put some stuff on screen. Basically, I was a vent rat or something. A vent rat. I think it's vent rat. Watch, I'm gonna go Google it because I'm an asshole. Okay, there we go. It's a duck rat. Or duct rat. Those were kids who were basically crawling around in the Citadel vents. And that was it was like a small, minute idea that I remember from hearing in Mass Effect in the dialogue stuff. So I'm like, okay, so I just took that idea and I made my character start off as him and his brother were orphaned on the Citadel, and he gets busted and Bailey takes him under his wing, makes him a cop. His brother kind of sticks to being, I guess a patsy or something you would say along the lines. It gets to the point where the first game happens. If you have never played Mass Effect, go play it. I mean, you can get it for dirt cheap everywhere. At least the first game. You can get it dirt cheap everywhere. 2, it's a little bit higher in price. 3, you can just completely skip that game. I'm just gonna tell you flat out right now. Just skip it. You can play all 3. Go ahead. You can get the trilogy pack for dirt cheap, like around $20-$30 versus getting them individually. I know it's backwards compatible on Xbox. You can get it on PC. I know it's on Steam still, but Origin has it, but I don't trust Origin. So any which way, his brother, which I forget his name because I was typing this on a tablet, and my ex, in another story, my ex pawned off my tablet so we could pay rent. So I never got to back up my story, which sucked because I only started writing like maybe 2 chapters. What can I say? I wasn't really interested in writing this fanfic, but it was still in my head. So Kepler's brother kind of got into a situation where he gets murdered. This happens, I want to say, at least a few months after they had repaired the Citadel from basically Mass Effect 1. I had placed Kepler around the time, like, he's recruited up and he helps out people during, the big giant ending for Mass Effect 1 where the Reapers are attacking, or the Geth are attacking, the Sovereign is trying to actually take the Citadel and open up it's big giant, he's basically making a key go into a hole to have more Reapers come. Basically, sum it up that way. So you go in and you defeat Saren, who's possessed by Sovereign's Reaper mind meld. And funny fact is I knew how to cheat that ending, because if you had high charisma, and it blew my friends, they were crazy because they thought they had to do 2 boss battles. You get a repeat of an old Saren fight where he's on his hoverboard just flying over, or you can persuade him to blow his fucking brains out and skip and go to the second fight where he turns into a fucking Reaper creature. When I told my friends, they didn't believe me. When I told my friends, do this, and watch. I'm sitting in the room and my friends are watching. He pulls the gun in his face and blows his brains out. They're like, so it means I can skip that fight. I'm like, awesome. And you get good points for it. They loved it because I played the game so much that I knew what to do. So while this whole thing with Shepard's going on, Kepler's helping people and trying to get people to safety. That's pretty much what's going on from the end of the first game. The whole time this storyline's taking place is right up to it's Mass Effect, end of Mass Effect 1, a few months after that. All of Mass Effect 2 stuff going on, and then right up to the last part, like the last DLC for Mass Effect 2 that introduces Mass Effect 3, like the big post-credit scene kind of a thing, which I never got to play, which is stupid. You basically blow up a mass relay and then you go to jail for it. Good to know when walking into Mass Effect 3, I was jailed for no fucking reason. I didn't buy the DLC. I maybe got half the DLC, and I didn't have money because I was a kid, didn't have a job to go play it, so there you go. Don't be like, ooh, why didn't you play it? I didn't have fucking money. Most of the time I didn't have money. That's why I kept replaying the games over and over. What happens is his brother, I forget the brother's name, he does like a smuggling job. The smuggling job goes bad for the Eclipse, which the Eclipse are there's 3 gangs. There's the Blood Pack, Eclipse, and Blue Suns. I picked the Eclipse. The Eclipse basically were moving red sand, which is basically cocaine in space. How did I know this? I read the Mass Effect books, and red sand was referenced in that. I'm like, okay, I'll just take that idea and move it over here. Red sand, basically, you snort it, you can get biotic abilities, which is basically telepathic powers, basically the Force, because they used a little bit of Star Wars in there. It's BioWare, give me a break. So his brother dies, and Kepler decides to leave the Force. He leaves CSEC and goes freelance. So he picks up a band of people. I remember his one buddy from CSEC comes with him, who was basically Kato from Mass Effect 1. I never took Kato with me. I think one time I went gay and that was it. I'm like, yeah, come with me. It's not like I'm gonna use you in Mass Effect 2 or 3. I always stick to Ashley because Ashley was a soldier and I was never a soldier. But then again, never used Ashley after a while. Just kept using like Garrus or Rex in the first game. Trying to save him was a pain in the ass. I remember that. 2 was always Legion, and Thane, or Kasumi. I think it was one person I used for a little bit. It's just I kept switching people out, but there was always people I would go back to. And Ashley and Kato were never the ones I went to, unless I was strictly doing a build where I needed them. I think his one coworker, one officer friend comes with him. They go to Omega, which is referenced in Mass Effect 2. It's basically the first place you go to after the tutorial. You go there and you pick up a Solarian. It's not Solarian. Oh shit! I forget the blue woman's name. Oh no! Gotta do another Google. I'm gonna edit the shit out of this. Quarians, Solarians. Oh no! It will come back to me when I see the word. Asari. Okay, so they pick up an Asari person there. Then they picked up, I forget like who else they picked up from other universes, but I know I had like, or not universes, other galaxies. I'm stupid. I know they picked up a Krogan, Solarian, Asari, another human. There's like a small group of 6, and I forget the bad guy's name, but he was a Solarian drug lord for the Eclipse. Like, he was basically hiring the Eclipse to help him traffic the drugs. And for majority of like the first act of the story was Kepler trying to do the investigation to find who did it, while at the same time he's picking up people that could help him. Kind of like what you do in Mass Effect 1, but not like Mass Effect 2, because in Mass Effect 1, you were picking up people to help Tali. So, like, everybody had a piece of evidence to prove that Saren was the bad guy. So, it's just like one lead led you to another lead, which made you pick up another person, which had another lead, and it just rabbit hole. That's kind of what the first act of the story was the investigation on how they can find the bad guy and figure out what really happened to his brother. Was it actually a fluke, or was it planned? Which, sadly, his brother was going to take the fall for the smuggling on the Citadel. So, the next 2 acts were basically how they approach the antagonist of the story. And the antagonist is heavily decked out in his mansion on, I think I had him on Ilium, but nevertheless, the last act was them just fighting their way to arrest this guy. And I remember having a lot of the ideas I had from that third act did show up in Flux. And when I get to that time where I can actually not be worried about talking about it out loud without people going, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. Yeah, and you said that happened? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, I want to make so much money off this idea. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. But trying to have, like, the anxiety that somebody's like, yeah, okay. Because that happened on Wattpad constantly. That's why I don't like Wattpad. And I put less stories I give a shit about, or just stuff I want to write about real quick on Wattpad versus something I spent time and hard-earned money into, because I put so much into just trying to. I've paid maybe over $1,000 in just using Word alone, $10 a month for 5 years, I think. Someone's gonna do the math in the bottom. Shame on you. Don't do that to me. Shame on you. But I took that whole story and I shelved it, I guess. I didn't really want to tell that story in the sense of typing it out and having somebody read it as a fanfic, because I don't like playing with characters. My main thing of fanfics is I don't like playing with other people's characters. Woo! Yeah, I know. But the main thing is I don't like playing with other people's characters because I don't know how they're going to. I don't know how that character is going to work. I know how my characters work because I know their motivations. I know their strives. I know what they emotionally feel. But a lot of times it's like if you look at like a character that's already existing, like Peter Parker, it's not hard to do work with that guy because he's supposed to be like the every guy quirky kid. You can't just make him just magically do a 180 and be like the Punisher, even if he's got the black suit on. That's a crazy idea. Yeah. So with my characters, I have more leeway to make them which way I want them to. So when I sat down and I wanted to write Flux, I think I was kind of leaning towards the idea of the concept of the story, that the question I wanted to ask in this whole story, which degraded over time and became just sci-fi thriller. I am so sorry. It's something I could discuss in the video, because a lot of times, like I said, you have to, with a spark, you have to ask a question. What if so and so? Like, what, for example, with robots, what is it that gives them the idea of life? And what is life? And then you could just, there you go, that's something you could run with. Trademark. But nevertheless, when it came to Flux, I guess I was somewhat influenced at the time of watching Firefly, because I finally had sat down in college. I'm like, okay, hey, people keep telling me I need to watch this. I saw the movie, and I thought the movie was okay, so I sat down, watched it, loved the character, dialogue, loved the setting, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do to write something like this? And I'm like, I remember having that fanfic a while back, way back. And I took that idea and I mutated it a bit, and I had wrote the outline out on paper, loose leaf paper. I think I showed it in one of the videos, and then I started writing in that green composition book, and I had stopped for a while, and then when my big climatic event happened, I told my mom, hey, if you see my stuff, there should be a green composition book somewhere in my room. Can you grab that for me and bring it here? She brought it, and I just started working on it, and I didn't stop working on it for a long time, because the moment I started working on it, I decided this was when I was going to be a writer or die trying. Keyword being die trying, because I had lost a lot of faith in my skill of being creative, and so far that's really worked out for me. I've worked on 3 books, so close to being done with Velocity, so close, the last book in the trilogy. Ooh, I'm picking away at it every day, and by the time I'm done, I'm going to get a bottle of champagne and then cry. It's over. It's like almost like 4 or 5 years of writing this stuff, working my butt day and night on something so stupid to me, because it's like, it's totally gonna work, right? I don't know. Anyway, which way, guys, thank you for tuning into this 2-parter. I definitely know for a fact that it's like almost 3 o'clock in the morning now, at least 2:30. Ha, joke's on me. So I'm probably going to edit the crap out of this and upload it as slow as possible. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what gets you guys inspired, what sparks a good idea, how you guys keep yourselves motivated in writing. I know I'm not great with the advice, but I'm trying. I mean, I really don't know how to tell good advice besides being the cookie cutter booktuber and be like, yeah, do all these, this works. No, I'm telling you flat out what I do, because I know for a fact that you guys are not going to see through that bullshit, because most of that shit, unfortunately, is bullshit. And I know what works and what doesn't work, and a lot of that stuff, somebody will say A works, but B works. A and B don't work for some people, so I'm C. So, any which way, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment your guys' comments, thoughts and all that, like I just said, for spark and motivation. Like tells me if you guys liked the topic and liked the video. Shows if I need improvement and such, if I need to increase my ideas. Also, subscribe keeps you up to date with stuff. Also, follow me on my Twitter. And there is a Discord group coming for the writing community, so we can all talk together. It is late at night. I'm getting off. Bye, guys.